Am I wrong for telling a friend the real reason why a coworker wants to date him? I, 24 female, have a friend from work, 26 male, Ben. Over the years, coworkers told me that Ben was interested in me, but I brushed it off. When I met Ben, I had a boyfriend who is now my husband. Ben met him and was even invited to our wedding, so the thought of him liking me was ridiculous. I ended up confronting him about it, and he said that he did like me at first, but stopped once he realized I was taken. My husband knows this and is totally fine with it. I never saw Ben as anything more than a friend. 2 months ago, I caught a coworker, Kat, 23 female, crying in the parking lot after work. I asked what was wrong, and she told me that her boyfriend broke up with her and left the country after they found out she was pregnant, and she insisted on keeping the baby. Kate is white with blue eyes and blonde hair, and so is her ex. Most people in my country are tan and have brown eyes with black hair. This info was important later on. After the breakup, Kate went out on dates every day. The guys had one thing in common: blue eyes, blonde hair. I joked that she must have a type, but she told me that she was looking for someone to father her baby, so they had to look similar to her ex so the baby could pass as theirs. This horrified me, but it wasn't my place to tell her anything. A month ago, Ben and I had lunch where he told me he started dating Kat. Ben is the only guy in our office with blonde hair and blue eyes. I told him dating Kat might not be the best idea. After lunch, I went up to Kate and told her what she was doing is wrong and asked her not to do this to my friend. She laughed it off and said it's okay, he won't find out. I stayed quiet for a while, but eventually told Ben he should seriously stop dating Kate. He said he figured I'll try to break them up because I'm jealous. Man, I was disgusted before finally saying to not come crying to me when he realizes Kate is only dating him so another man's baby could have a father. I stopped talking to Ben shortly after, and everything was relatively peaceful in the office. That was until Kate announced she's pregnant. I could see the color drain from Ben's face as he looked in my direction. A huge fight broke out between the two of them after Ben demanded a paternity test while Kate tried to convince him it wasn't necessary. Kate called me later screaming that I ruined her life, so my guess is they broke up. The thing is, they really do deserve each other, so I'm starting to wonder whether I made the right decision by telling Ben the truth. If I hadn't, they probably would have gotten married and the baby would have had a loving father to look after him. Me personally, I would want to know. So I'd be thankful for someone like you if people knew and didn't tell me. If you're my friend, you would tell me so.
Story time about this girl who faked being Latina. So there was this girl who went to my school. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah is the queen of lies. In every subject we talk about, Sarah always, and I mean always, comes up with a lie that has to do with her life. Here's an example. What if we're talking about Tom Holland? She'd just come in and say, "Oh yeah, Tom Holland is my dad's friend. I met him once." You know, these types of lies. Another one is when she told everyone she's Latina. It was lunchtime in school, and we were talking about where we went for the summer. Sarah tells us that she went to Spain, and she started telling us on what she did there, and says that she's 50% Latina. She also said that she lived in Spain for 6 years, and if there is any person who lived in Spain for 6 years, they must know how to speak Spanish. And then my friend Kayla asked her, what does good morning mean in Spanish? We all know it's buenos dias. She just My friend Kayla asked Sarah, what does good morning mean in Spanish? And then Sarah looks at us, looks back at her food, and said, I don't know, I'm still taking Spanish lessons. And we just look at her, that she doesn't even know what good morning means in Spanish. If she had lived in Spain for 6 years, she would have known what it meant. I don't know how, but that incident has spread around the entire school. Every person that walks past Sarah just says, Buenos dias, basically teasing her about not knowing what good morning means in Spanish. And then Sarah didn't show up to school for 3 days after that. And oh boy, we haven't even gotten to the crazy part. The 3 days pass, and Sarah comes back to school. As soon as she walks into the class, everyone's eyes was on her. She came up, sat in her seat, and this lady showed up to school. So after 3 days of Sarah not coming to school, she showed up in a crop top, skinny jeans, fake nails, and fake lashes. And her hair was in a bun with edges. Yes, you heard me, edges. This lady is white. And in lunchtime, she took out a bag of hot Cheetos and some dipping sauce. I don't know if this was supposed to make us think she's Latina, but trust me, it didn't work. All of the freshmen and sophomores took out their phone and started filming her. This is where I kind of felt bad, but she ran to the bathroom crying, and she just stayed there and didn't show up to any classes for the rest of the day.
I'm Bowen. Even though I live with my parents, we treat each other like strangers. We don't talk. I can't even remember the last time I had a conversation with my dad. I only remember my mom telling me to take out the trash a few weeks ago. Normally, she just points to the trash with her eyes. I was surprised that she actually said something to me that day at all. I do my own grocery shopping, I cook my own food, and I eat alone in my room. My parents love traveling. Of course, they never take me with them. They don't even tell me that they're going somewhere. If I don't see them at home 2 nights in a row, I know that they must have gone on a trip. I only find out where they've been after they come back by looking at the fridge, because wherever they go, they get a souvenir magnet and stick it there. They never ask me if I have any money. Thankfully, my grandma gives me money every week. She's my mother's mother and lives in a retirement home. My mom hasn't seen her in years. I visit her every Friday. I'm sure you're curious to know why they are treating me this way. I'll tell you why. Because they think I ruined their lives. My mom was only 20 years old when she got pregnant with me. She and my dad were both law school students. My mom gave birth to me even though she didn't want me at all. Because of that, she never got her degree. My dad also had to quit school and started working to be able to support us. One day, when I was in elementary school, my mom said to me, "If it wasn't for you, both your dad and I would have been successful lawyers today. But instead, I'm working as a secretary, and your dad is a mechanic. In case you're not aware, you destroyed our lives." Of course, hearing that at such a young age made me really upset. Now, I don't feel guilty, but I can't really say that I'm all that happy. I only feel good when I visit my grandma. That's why on Fridays, I don't walk, but run to the retirement home. Every week, my grandma's best friend, Aunt Zora, bakes a lemon cake for me. The 3 of us have cake as I tell them about everything that happened that week. I mostly talk about the things my parents have done. They listen to me very carefully, and they always have a lot to say. One Friday, when I arrived at the home, both my grandma and Aunt Zora looked really sad. Their eyes were all puffy from crying. Aunt Zora was being treated for cancer. I knew something bad had happened. Her doctor had told her that the cancer had spread all over her body. Nothing could be done anymore. Aunt Zora wiped the tears off her face and said, "I asked the doctor, how long do I have? Please tell me." He said, "Maybe a week or a month. Almost certainly less than a year. It's really difficult to say this, but I can die any second now," she said. I was so sad. She was as close to me as my grandma. I wanted to say something to comfort her, but words had lost their meaning. Aunt Zora said, "Let's go to my room. I've had something on my mind for a while now. It's time to share it." My grandma and I stared at each other. We didn't get it. We followed Aunt Zora. She took out a notebook from the closet and handed it to me. "I don't have anyone else in this world apart from you two. I think of your grandma as my sister and you as my grandson. This notebook is the only thing I can leave you." I looked at the notebook. I could tell it was very old because the pages were all yellow. I flipped through it but couldn't figure out what it was. There were a lot of numbers and words I couldn't make out. Aunt Zora said, "These are my great-grandfather's notes. He lived in France in the 1700s, and he was one of the most renowned alchemists of his time." "Do you know what alchemy is?" she asked me. I shook my head. "No." Aunt Zora began to tell the story. In ancient Greece, China, and Europe, alchemists tried to transform materials such as iron and lead into gold by mixing different elements. They used to say, if you mix the right ingredients, you could turn a rusty key into solid gold. There were some who succeeded, but they didn't tell anyone about it. They kept it a secret. My great-grandfather was one of them. Thanks to him, our family lived comfortably for generations. We kept his secret. But I'm the last living member of my family, so no one else is left. I've decided that Bowen is the only person I can pass this on to. And I have some good news, too. The formula in this notebook transforms not only metals, but any object into gold. Listening to Aunt Zora, my grandma was surprised as I was. "Anything at all?" she asked. "Yes, everything. There's even rumors about one of my great-uncles accidentally dipping his hand into this liquid, and his whole hand turning into gold." My grandma said, "Zora, you really surprised me with this. Why do you live here if you're so wealthy?" Aunt Zora smiled. "Because I was so lonely. I decided to build this place because I wanted to have a lot of friends," she replied. My grandma screamed, "What? This place belongs to you? Why didn't you tell me?" Aunt Zora laughed. "You never asked. Don't ask, don't tell." Then she took out a wooden box from the closet. She gave it to my grandma. "And this is for you. But don't open it just yet. Don't ruin the surprise. You'll know when to open it," she said. While they were chatting, I was going through the pages of the notebook. Aunt Zora looked at me. "The formula is on the last page. You need some chemicals. I'm sure you can find them on all that beloved internet of yours. Come on." Get to work now, she said. Turning anything you wanted to gold. Was that really possible? I was sure Aunt Zora was telling the truth. If she was saying this worked, then of course it did. After that day, I began spending all my time researching the notebook that was from the 1700s. I read through the whole notebook to make a list of all the chemicals in the formula. It took a while, but I finally did it. There were 7 of them in total. After a long search, I figured out where I could buy them. The next step was ordering them. I was giddy with excitement, but when I came to the 6th chemical, my excitement turned into grief. Because this was a pretty rare element which sold for $1,000 per pound. And I didn't have that much money. I could think of only one solution. I could ask my parents for a loan. I went to the kitchen to talk to them. They were surprised to see me. My dad looked annoyed and said, "What?" I showed him the old notebook and told him what Aunt Zora had told us. "I need $1,000. In return, I'll give you all the gold you want, so you can travel for the rest of your life and never have to see me again," I said. They both started laughing hysterically. My mom said, "This boy has gone totally insane from lack of attention. How imaginative. He can turn anything into gold." My dad turned to me and asked, "Did you really believe this stupid tale? You're so naive. No wonder we never felt close to you." I wasn't going to take another second of this. I ran out. I got on a bus to get to the retirement home. I wanted to tell Grandma and Aunt Zora about everything. When I walked in, everyone was crying. Clearly something bad had happened. I went to my grandma's room. She stood up when she saw me. "Zora wasn't feeling well this morning. It all happened in a flash. She took her final breath in my arms," she said, and began sobbing. I ended up spending the night with my grandma. In the morning, she took out the wooden box that Aunt Zora had given her. We couldn't believe our eyes when we opened it. There were 3 golden eggs inside. I took one out. It was brilliant and shiny. I wished I could show those eggs to my dad and see the expression on his face. There was a piece of paper inside the box. It seemed to be a note from Aunt Zora. My grandma took it out and began to read. "If you're reading this, then I must be gone. The day I got married, my dad turned 100 eggs into gold and gave them all to me. Each time I needed money, I would sell one and live comfortably for a while. These are the last few that are left. I wanted to give them to you since I have no need for them anymore. Goodbye, my dear sister." Once again, tears came pouring down my grandma's eyes. She knew I didn't want to go back home. "We could sell one of these golden eggs and buy a house. We can live there together," she said. I happily agreed. Since we had enough money now, all I wanted was to try implementing the formula and to become a real alchemist. My grandma bought us a wonderful house. We converted the basement into a laboratory. I ordered all the chemicals and tools that I needed online. I grabbed the notebook and got to work. I began following the formula on the last page of the notebook very carefully. Like I said earlier, there were 7 different chemicals involved. I blended all of them in a bowl, but I was disappointed because the resulting liquid looked just like water. I thought after all that hard work I would finally get some kind of liquid gold, but this liquid didn't seem any different from tap water. Still, I decided to keep going. I was going to use some eggs for the experiment as well. I dropped an egg into the liquid. At first, nothing happened, but after a few moments, a lot of little bubbles started forming. Then the liquid began to boil on its own. I was watching completely mesmerized. The boiling suddenly stopped. The egg had turned golden and shiny. The formula worked. I'd succeeded in transforming an egg into pure gold. Now there was one more thing I had to do. I'm sure you can guess what it is. I wanted to teach my toxic parents a lesson. I went to their house. Neither of them was home because they were both working. I took all the magnets from the fridge and put them in a bag. Then I came back to my new home. I was so excited. I went down to the lab. I dipped each magnet into the liquid and turned them all into gold. I picked up the Las Vegas magnet and held it high. It was so striking and shiny. I couldn't help but laugh. I really wanted my parents to see these right away. I went to the kitchen and stuck the gold magnets onto the fridge. Then I took some pictures, created a group chat with my parents' numbers. I sent the photos of the magnets to the group. "Are these our magnets? They look fantastic," my mom wrote first. Soon after, my dad wrote, "Bowen, did you turn our magnets into gold? So the formula worked? What an incredible success! I'm proud of you." I wasn't going to reply, but they kept texting me. My dad wrote, "We really need to catch up with you, son. Shall we go on a family trip together? We have to celebrate your success." My mom wrote, "Honey, where are you now? Send us your location. We'll come to you. We missed you so much." At that point, I'd had enough. I didn't expect my parents to sink so low for money. It also made me furious to think that they could fool me with a few nice words. I went down to my lab. My parents still kept texting me. I was holding my phone, but wasn't reading any of their texts. I slowly lowered my phone into the liquid. Soon after, it turned into gold. They couldn't text me anymore. That was the last time I heard from them.
Guys, I had a 2-day hangover, but I've returned, I've risen, and now I'm going to tell you about it. Every Thursday, I basically go up to London for something that you will be finding out next week. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyway, safe to say I got absolutely obliterated, and that was because I was with Max per leg day. Max, if you're seeing this, that's on you. That's on you. So now, as all the usual stories start, I get on the train home. It's about 10:30. I'm bursting for a piss. Now, I've never used a train toilet before because I'm very scared. I've seen Take Me Out. The doors just open, me fanny's out. So basically, right now, I'm surfing while pissing. I didn't realise I had that sport in me, but apparently I fucking do. So I don't want to sit on the seat because I might get tetanus, so I'm surfing. Anyway, I finished me piss. Can't work out how to flush the toilet. And that could have been because I was drunk. So I was like, do you know what? Gotta go. I then go to my seat. The chargers aren't working again. East Midlands Rail. I am a female on her own. Have we learnt nothing? So I think, well, I ain't having this. Well, I'm fucking not. I'll piss off to first class. And I tried to walk in as if I'm not blackout drunk. I was, but that's not the point. So the girl next to me nudges me. I'm thinking, I've been clocked. I'm going to jail. Then she asked me for a tissue. So first of all, I'm thinking, bargain. Second of all, I'm thinking, no. Turns out the lad next to us is having a nosebleed. It's very dramatic. So I'm rummaging in my bag. Do you know what? I'm pulling out tampons. I think I did tell him I had a tampon as well, actually. First thing that came to my mind was a Greggs sausage roll wrapper. You know, like the plastic ones that wouldn't absorb a fart. Yeah, so I gave him that. Anyway, he seemed very grateful, and then he said, are you off TikTok? I said, gotta go. Finally make it into Nottingham. Get on the tram again. Loving a tram recently. Someone stopped me in the street asking me how much I charge. And in the moment, now looking back at it, I should have said 60 quid because that would have got me an Uber Eats. But I said I don't. So I don't really know what you're going to do with any of this information, but just have it.
I swiped right on a girl without a picture, and we matched. So after a brief chat I went to go pick her up. I wasn't expecting much, probably 300 pounds with bad skin, but hey, I was so desperate it was this or join an incel chat room. I walked up to the door and lo and behold, 5 feet 2 inches, baby blue eyes, strawberry blonde hair, all the right curves in all the right places. I couldn't believe my luck. I asked her what she did for a living. She said she taught Sunday school. Now I never had me a Christian girl, but I'm open-minded so I took her to dinner. On the way, I lit a joint and asked her if she puffs. Oh heavens no, what would I tell my Sunday school children? I said okay, weed's 50-50, some people do some people don't. And I took her to the best restaurant I knew. I ordered the steak, she ordered the lobster. I asked for the second most expensive bottle of wine on the menu. When the waitress came to pour, she said she didn't drink. I said you don't drink? Oh heavens no, what would I tell my Sunday school children? Excellent food, sparkling conversation, but I'm bummed out. I don't know what to do with a girl like this. So I'm driving her home and pass a cheap motel. I figure, what have I got to lose? So I ask, wanna get a room and knock boots? She says, I thought you'd never ask. I say, really? What are you gonna tell your Sunday school children? She says, the same thing I tell them every week. You don't have to drink and do drugs to have a good time.